So, let's jump in. 64%. That's not nearly as many percents as I expected. How much more game is in this game? Alright. So if I am remembering correctly, the most recent thing that happened is we found a Baikal facility deep underwater that had been basically completely abandoned, in the sense that the company abandoned it while people were still living there. So there was a lot of disaster happening, and many people probably died as a result of it. And it seems like it was done so that the company could cover up their involvement in something in the planet, in something. Separately, we have this mess. And Ellery Voss is apparently alive and unmutated at the moment, so that's good. Yeah, this is the doctor that Ellery was looking for. Is now a whole lot of mushrooms, I think. So that's not great. I don't think that's great. I suspect that's probably not great. But it is really unclear what is going to happen with the good doctor who is now a lot of mushrooms. And apparently still alive, which is also concerning. So the first step... Actually, let's see. Do I have garbage in my inventory? I have nothing in my inventory. That's fine. Would I like to have something in my inventory? Unclear. The sphere fragments are good for oxygen. This is pretty good for power. This is better for power? Nope. This is miserable. So I'm going to take 1 or 2 of these with me. And there was a locked door that I now have the ability to get through. And maybe Ellery won't, like, plot prevent me from going through the locked door. So let's go check that out. Okay, so plot over here now. Baikal site priority. Another Baikal facility sits at the center of the bloom beneath the rocky shelf. In the archaeology data, it is labeled a Site 2. Baikal site priority. One of the Baikal facilities was in this area labeled Site 1. And then somewhere, maybe here, there was a locked door that was the other doctor's old facility. Or laboratory or something. Slow motion secretion. Yes, there is a thing over here that we left behind because I didn't have enough room in my inventory. Bloom fans struggle to survive in this hostile corner of the bloom. The highest levels of toxicity surround this hole in the bloom's central ridge. Reef stalks. Maybe it was here? I don't remember where the locked door was. I don't think it was in Central Reef. I think it was in the middle of the bloom. So we'll head that way. See if we can get into that locked door that the doctor left behind. Alright. And I guess as long as we're here, we can fill up with some extra pieces in case it's helpful. What have you got? Nest workers. I can use these to clear some space. And then this is going to be the stalks that I can also use to activate the oysters. Or whatever the animals are that come out. Sphere fragments. Nope, this is something else entirely. It's more of these, which is great. All right, yeah, we'll just go. And not worry about trying to make safe spaces in the bloom or anything like that. We can just walk through the bloom and hopefully survive. Of course, we have stuff that we can use in order to make up the oxygen, so it's not too bad. Like the fan dust, for example. Oops, wrong button. It's the button that looked like the button. Fan dust is also usable to, like, clear space temporarily. Wait, was that it up there? What was off to the side here? I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. This is, in fact, exactly what I was looking for. Torch it! Good job, Torch. So what are we looking at here? Choked with rock and sand, the metal chamber is deathly still. The angular shapes of industrial machinery lie in wait. So maybe this is actually the Baikal facility instead of the doctor's facility? Uh-oh, it's red. My oxygen. The pillars which stretch up towards the cavernous roof of the chamber are warped and distorted, barely able to hold the weight. Half of the rock ceiling above the chamber seems to have come down at once, burying most of the room. We're gonna leave the others unread until we get to that point. Look, that tank. It's filled with microbial growth. What was this place? Be careful, the water will be just as toxic as it is above in the bloom. Which microbe? Bloom froth, okay. Clogged vent. This dark hole in the floor is spewing out the same microbial clumps as seen in the bloom above. They settle around the vent in layers. There's probably supposed to be samples down here somewhere. Oh yeah, there we go. This side of the vast tank has been corroded away, melted by the incredibly dense volume of microbes inside. Shattered tank is dense with microbes. Thick green webs of growth stretch across the suit's visor, turning the lamplight acid green. Huge volumes of rock and sand must have smashed through the layers of facility, burying it and its occupants. Oh, it's just in this area that it's toxic. So once we get out of that, it's safe. That's interesting. Whether it was a control room or storage shed, this room has been totally crushed by the facility's collapse. Ah. But there's logs. M. Diaz. Sir, Dr. Hess has just arrived from Site 1. FT. Send him through. Constantine has full clearance. Constantine Hess, I guess, is a name that we need to pay attention to. Alright. I'm capable of paying attention to names. Probably. This building stretches deep into the blue. What is its purpose? I can go up here. Oh, I guess up or down over here was the same as up or down from here, and I just walked into the microbes for no reason. Alright. Be that way. The shell of some corroded maintenance vehicle is flooded with sand, its top a garden of microbial growth. More bloom froth. Angular plates piled with sand are all that remains of the rooms and structures that divided up this level of the facility. Baikal containers marked with now dull yellow biohazard tape. What were they shipping into this facility? What's up, Dalek? Unneeded science. Well, it's something. This is no lab. This is a Death Star? This is a space station? It's an industrial facility. These containers must have carried some vital resource for its operation. Fuel, perhaps? Perhaps? And nothing else I can do here? Wow, wild. Wonder if I can use the stuff I picked up to clear this space out. Like, is that going to create a safe space for me? Yeah, it totally does. Cool. Ah, but only below. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was like a sample thing that I missed? I don't know. I imagine this was once a sealed tube stretching from floor to ceiling, but now it is just a round, ragged hole in the metal floor. Hulking machines built for industrial use sit covered in a fine layer of sand and growth. This was a place where people worked. Yeah, they did all kinds of stuff in here, presumably. It keeps chirping when I get to these. I guess the chirp is to indicate that I can go up or down. And the only thing I have found in here is this mention of Dr. Hess Constantine. Or Constantine Hess, or whatever. Dr. Hess. Should there be, like, some other place I can go to explore here? Guess we can burn some more oxygen checking this out. Yeah, nothing here. Not even samples. Nothing here either. Wow, okay. So this place is mostly empty, I guess. Other than indications that there was... that this was an industrial facility. And... I guess we didn't really learn anything about what they did here. Or get any interesting samples from it either. Like, I thought there was going to be something I'd be able to do over here, but apparently not. Did I miss going down a second time? Can I keep going down? Is that what happened? Damn it. If there was a second down, then I totally missed it. Can I go down? Oh, yeah, I can go down again from here. That was... Yep. Alright, let's, refill that oxygen a little bit. This vast tank is one of two that stretches the full height of the facility. Inside the water is thick with microbial growth. How did this towering metal container split apart so violently? An accident? Or something more? These banks of consoles must have controlled the operations within the tank. Now the tank's contents have turned them to scrap. These wide pipes looks to have been connected to the Hall's tank. They must have controlled the outflow of whatever was produced here. Which I guess is the bloom? These pipes, those tanks. This facility was outputting huge volumes of something into the planet's atmosphere. This has to have been a geoengineering project, a way of changing Gliese 667cc. But looking at this place, it suffered a total collapse. What went wrong? That is your job to figure out, Ellery. What do I pay you for? What went wrong? Maintenance on the South Hall is continuing. I'm seeing a massive pressure spike here. Control? It's interesting seeing people's final words in this context. The tank stands in a huge hall, its pipe leading off into the dark. This facility was not built to study this planet, but to change it. Okay. Not exactly terraforming, because it was forming in some way that I think is unlike Terra. But attempting to change things. Plumes of green microbial froth pour from the breached tank. Are these microbes even local to this planet? Or did Baikal bring them here? A good question. Bloom bubble. I think these are things that I had before, given that I can see their name. But it's always nice to have a little bit more fuel for the reactor. These tank walls were breached with explosive force, the remains corroding away over the decades that followed that violent act. A tall passage between the halls of the two facilities. Between the two halls of the facility. Different. This place must have been impressive when it was in full operation. Yeah, but like, what was it doing? We still don't know. Other than pumping garbage into the atmosphere, maybe? The central tank has held back the sand and rock, but it leans unsettlingly forward into the hall. Okay, sure, yeah, I agree that would be unsettling. Gonna do a loop around it, I guess? Between the overhanging tank and the buckled, twisted walls, a clear corridor leads forward. Forward sounds good. Certainly seems better than my other options. More bloom froth. Crushed by the rock falls, broken open containers reveal rich patches of microbial growth, like miniature gardens. A row of corroded consoles wired up to an umbilical connection which has been cut away. K-Helu. Control? I'm slicing it before it cascades. Clear the reactor chamber. The bacterial outflow is about to hit. Oh, so stuff got, intermixed somehow, I guess. Wait, what did it say here? Wired up to an umbilical connection which has been cut away. A sand-dusted chair props up the remains of a suit, the faceplate clouded with rich green growth. Oh boy. Presumably the suit in which K-Helu was. Okay. So yeah, this was in fact a Baikal facility. And was abandoned the same way that the other one was abandoned. Seemingly for some sort of similar, like, the bacteria got into a place it wasn't supposed to and caused a problem. I don't actually know if that was why the other one was abandoned, but I do know that there was some actual disaster that was occurring, And instead of dealing with it, they decided to just cover it up. A fully sealed tank rises up through the center of the hall, its sheer sides streaked with growth from the southern tank. The connection between this console and the tank is sliced clean through. Is this what stopped it from breaching? They did say they were cutting the connections. A rising wall of sand leans heavily against the tank, burying tons of equipment and who knows what else beneath its slopes. L. Youngs. Yes, sir. Atmospheric density is increasing ahead of schedule. Please inform the board. They will be pleased. Atmospheric density is increasing ahead of schedule. Atmospheric density of whatever it was they were pumping into the atmosphere, presumably. Space, ocean, Chernobyl, maybe, yeah. That's a reasonable suspicion here. I don't know how much you know of the, how much you were here for in terms of the other story that I have seen so far. But yeah, being here for what I presumed was xenobiology reasons, and now suddenly there's a corp cover-up of some worldwide disaster, is definitely changing the vibe. A large access hatch to the floor above lies open, its ladder corroded into a twisted, rusty spine. Alright, up we go. The rows of sand-choked desks, rusted consoles, and dim monitors makes it clear this was the facility's control room. Played a tiny amount a while ago and bounced off the game a bit. Seemed to have come into a mostly self-explanatory part. Yeah, alright, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it took a while to change gears from the initial, like, oh my god, alien life is here, where is the person that invited me, to what appears to be an evil corporation doing disasters and cover-ups. But, that was a fairly sudden shift in the middle of last stream. So now we are exploring the corp facilities to find out what the heck actually happened. Ah, Konstantin Hess. We were looking for him. No. Oh god, the tank is breached! The artificers. I didn't mean... Silence. Oh, right, I had forgotten this bit. So, there was a... one of the samples that we found was referred to in the other doctor's notes as the artificers. Presumably the scientist we were searching for was onto them. I think the scientist that we were searching for was part of their team, but escaped in some way, and then came back looking for confirmation that this happened. Let me think back and try and put the pieces together. So the scientist that we came after was the daughter of someone who died in this disaster and had enough insight into the corporation's notes and facilities to track this down. So they came here presumably looking for proof and also sent us a note so that we would follow them here. And what they were doing, one of the things that they were doing at least, was building AI out of the bones of a presumably sapient predecessor species that used to exist here. But for whatever reason, like, the remains of those creatures had, like, fine-tuned details within their skeletal structure that meant that it was a much better suited substrate for the purpose of creating mechanical AI than anything that the people had discovered so far. Yes, we are a ghost robot hybrid intelligence. Correct. Preserved by the low flow of water inside the control room, the smoothed out shapes of human bones are scattered across the floor. Oh no, bones. That's terrible news. Here. This is where they controlled this place once. They were changing this planet, manipulating it. These vast tanks of engineered microbes were their tools. Algae changed the atmosphere of Earth billions of years ago. These creatures were meant to do the same. But by accident or sabotage, this containment was breached. These idiots. They could have killed every last species on this planet. Eaten up in a global bloom. Somehow the reef survived. Somehow the stalks held on. Tried to revert our mistake. Humans don't deserve this planet. We didn't deserve to find life. I've seen enough. Scan what's left and I'll take a look back at base. Let's find a way out of here. F-Tar. Constantine? What are you... Step away from the console. I'm sorry. Was this the Artificers? Yep. Oh, interesting. So Constantine showed up to do something to the operation, and instead it turned into a global disaster? Stop the operation somehow? Interesting. The control room's evacuation hatch hangs open, piles of rock and sand all around. Despite the cave-in, this console is surprisingly pristine, a cup sitting beside one of the monitors where it was placed decades before. We are doing the Artificers a favor. Despite all their abilities, they couldn't manifest this kind of planetary change. Wow. That is incredibly egocentric. Alright, emergency hatch, let's go. Where does this go? This is why no one escaped the facility. This tunnel's sealed, the control room's escape route cut off. The hatch hangs open, leading down into the dark, into the cool dark of the control room. Alright, fortunately we have a torch. I guess we need to restore some power here. That's what this stuff is for. Sealed at both ends, this corridor is pristinely preserved, the Baikal decals still visible on the gleaming walls. A second seal locks off the corridor at the other end. They made sure no one would escape. Alright, fire up the torch again! That's what torches are for! The tunnel leads out into a small shelf overlooking a rift discreetly cut into the rock. Ah, and then the color changes to indicate that we're no longer in the facility full of dead people. Back in the open water, the current at this end of the rift softly pushes against the suit. Above, the steep rift wall meets the shelf of the bloom. To the north, green clouds rise up, the familiar sight of the bloom that surrounds the shelf in the facility below it. Behind the pillars, the reef's strong currents are lessened, making a small sheltered stretch of water on this side of the rift. Fortunately, I can just walk into the rift at this point. But also, this is a place that I've been before, and I just wasn't able to come out to the shelf here. Interesting. And this is... Yep, the bloom. Well, I don't think we need to walk through the bloom. There were other places to go out here, right? Maybe? Yeah, we can cross from here. I think we can just, get retrieved, though. Analyze the rest of it in the lab. You know, I wonder... It's a little unclear here. Back online? Good. I've been working with the data we extracted from the facility. What they did there, it's terrible. They could have wiped out life on this planet. Baikal should have known better than to mess with the entire planet's ecosystem. The failure of the facility was catastrophic. The bloom dominated half of the planet. As far as I can tell, it wiped out the artificers. Think about those skeletons in the bloom. But the rest of the planetary ecosystem reacted somehow, resisted, pushed the bloom back. I don't understand how life could have adapted to the change in conditions so quickly, though. It's as if they evolved to meet the challenges of the bloom in mere decades. Impossible. Let's keep looking. There's another facility to investigate out to the east. There has to be more to this. Okay, so that covered a lot of the ground that I was going to cover, which was, it sounds like the artificers were alive and extant on the planet at the time that this happened, so a couple of decades ago, and the sapient species that lived here got wiped out as a result of whatever disaster Baikal was unable to prevent from happening. Which, that's pretty wild. And also retains the possibility that we might meet an alive member of this species in the other facility or something. Just because they were wiped out outside of the facilities. Like, we don't know what was sealed in those facilities, so anything could happen from here. Also, I guess it's not exactly clear to me whether the AI that I am representing is made from the artificers, like from their bones, or from a collaboration with the artificers, like working with them in some way. Because, like, if they were alive at the point at which my AI was made, then that puts the theory that the Baikal representatives were working with their remains as a little weird. That seems a little odd. Still possible, I suppose. Alright, do I have anything in my inventory that needs to be scanned? Can I scan you? Or we still don't know? We still haven't hit the thing enough. Yeah, I didn't pick up anything new on this run. I don't need that, though, for sure. Alright, I'll keep these handy because these are good oxygen sources. And if there's, like, a good power source to bring into my inventory, sure. Zero, zero. Wow. That's unusual. Alright, so more plot is out this way. Wonder if there's a low % run of this game collecting as few samples as possible. Yeah, there's a couple of samples that are actually, like, plot relevant. Like, enable you to do some sort of movement that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. But most of them are purely for the sake of filling out the logbook. Alright, so I know if I go out this way, I can jump into the reef. But there was a thing down in this direction that, may have given me the opportunity to collect a sample that I hadn't seen yet. What is this? I mean, I suppose. Better to have it in my inventory than not. But it's not particularly exciting. Yeah, okay. So it doesn't look like there's a way down from here. So I guess my best bet is just head the other direction. And then we'll see if... we'll see if there's a way south instead of just east in order to collect that remaining sample. Surrounded by shimmering petals, a pulsing stalk pumps out spores. Do these carbon-rich particles feed the plants too? I don't know, maybe. You tell me. Dr. Ellery. Soothe spore. These are the ones that regrow the things. As the shattered edge of the reef curves away to the east, the currents fade and the static water grows warmer. The currents fade? I could have just come out here. Wow, that's sure a thing I never tried to do. From the cover of this canopy, I can see a series of tall pillars out to the east, each one topped with a garden of unknown life. Ah, no, there was still current. Okay, so I couldn't have just gone out here. It required me to figure out the propulsion system first. Strong current. Vector blocked? Really? I thought I had... Oh, I need to... Yeah, the propulsion system needs to be turned on. Okay. Strong current cuts across the east edge of the shelf, with the turquoise haze of the open ocean stretching beyond. Alright, let's go. East of here, the current fades, and strange pillars rise up from the dark of the ocean. This large pillar extends down into the murk of the deep water below, standing improbably straight and tall, a geographic anomaly. Hang on, there was a life form down there. These twisted strands are like webs between the pillars. Let's start logging them. Okay. These long, pale green strands of plant matter entwine in flat blades, which trail horizontally between the pillars. Ah, and there's a thing. Feathery creature. Alright, prompt me. These funny feathery creatures are all around these gardens. Let's start observing their movements. Alright, prompt is over. A cleverly camouflaged creature, mainly composed of feathery frond-like arms, which it waves rhythmically as it moves. Pillar garden. This pillar is topped with a layer of bright and sunlit life. Looking around, each of the pillars here has the same green-gold streak. It appears that a number of the creature's feathery arms have sharp edges that it uses to prune the pillar garden's flora. which is Shimmer Blooms. Okay, so this is a thing that we've definitely already seen a lot of. Patterns of dents in the sand show the paths of the feathery creatures that cross from pillar to pillar in slow and purposeful loops. Okay, tell me more. Shed feather. A delicate feather structure found in the pillar gardens. These silken strands meet in places and become tangled in one another, forming complex webs that are slow to navigate. Okay, we're back into xenobiology mode. Look at all this cool stuff that exists on this planet. Twisted tendrils. The gaps between the tendrils are webbed with fine strands, almost invisible to the naked eye. Pale green strands of plant tendrils from the pillar gardens. Not particularly valuable in terms of resources, but new things are always neat to have. These trailing plants can be of great length and appear to only grow from the sides of the pillars. How did they form? Right, so I think I do want to head south from here, right? There was a sample that was on the, that was marked on the map. The gaps between the pillars are a pattern I cannot read, one that speaks of a complex geological history. Oh, these slow you down. Interesting. Observing the underside of these plants, I can see a layer of spores, stomata perhaps, for waste release. The feathery creatures that pass along the tendrils seem to be unshakable in their routines, each one carefully doing its rounds. I've observed these feathered creatures moving between pillars along the web-like plants that connect them. This impossibly thin pillar rises up from the murk like a pencil, its sides marked by the faint strata of geological eons. These tendrils have grown close enough to each other to form a complex tangle of strands between the small pillars. I've observed these plants in shades, which stretch from bright green to ivory white. Is this an indicator of their age or health? It seems that if they're knocked off a surface, these creatures can swim, but very inefficiently. Must be an emergency measure. I've noticed these strands don't connect directly to the pillars, but disappear into holes in their sides. What are they connected to, then? It's apparent that matter from the blooms, such as pollen, collects in this creature's feathery arms. Is this intentional? Almost assuredly. Why do you think the arms are feathered? It's not like they're flying. Sea silk. Sure. I've named this sea silk, though I'm not sure what kind of plant it is. Check my notes back at base. Long strands of pale green and white plant matter that twist into broad, flat bridges and webs between the pillar gardens. Right. Where these tendrils meet, the feathery creatures are able to carefully clamber from one to another, leaving behind feathers as they do. Did I sample them? Is it going to be the same thing that I've already found? It's the same thing I've already found. Alright, no point in picking it up then. Too small to enter, this hole in the pillar leads deep into the rock. A tailpiece, left by the inhabitant, sits just inside. We could sample it. I do like sampling things! That's what I'm here for. I've got to use something up then. Sure. The bright chitinous shards of a tail shell, shed or severed. This tendril has to stretch a long distance to bridge these pillars. How do they grow like this, without any support? This pillar top is a little sparser than some of the others. Perhaps these more southern pillars have only recently been seeded. I suppose. Hang on. We'll dunk one of these. And then take the sample. Oh, it's a thing I already know about. Well, whatever, I made room. Gardener. Okay. I'm calling these gardeners. They're so attentive and purposeful. I want to know more about them. A feathery, slow-moving creature that prunes the plants of the pillar gardens, moving between pillars along their silken bridges. Down here, only a single bridge leads from pillar to pillar, a lone creature braving the currents as it crosses. Despite sitting all the way out here, this pillar is hooked up to the others by a long tendril. Oh, something new. Burrowing creature. When disturbed, the segmented creature shot out of its burrow, ejecting grit and sediment as it swam away. Quite the surprise! These creatures are tricky to catch a glimpse of. Let's see if we can scare up a few more. Feathery pinwheel. Creature's left behind one of its delicate arms here. Perhaps in order to escape from a predator? We could take a sample of it. Yeet. I love taking samples. $40, dang. High power. Feather arm. Clogged with pollen from the pillar gardens. Thought there was going to be more stuff south of here. Ah, here we go. Out, away from the other gardens, this wide pillar feels like a calming sanctuary. A blob of green and gold in a sea of blue. Once again reminded just how much reading there is in this game. This is stuff I already have, so it doesn't matter. One final bridge stretches down to the southernmost pillar, its strands swaying with the rising current. A tendril loosely dangles from the pillar, its root half pulled out of the rock. It's pale and bulbous. We could sample it here. Well, let's do that. I'm down for samples. Get rid of this, I guess. We don't need two of them. A spherical translucent ball. Is this a root? Hold pillar. Despite being so thick, this pillar is cut through with small holes, and on its top, a couple of shell plates catch the light. More samples? Alright, I'm not going to turn that down. Oh, the guy! These creatures scrape away at the pillar surface, carving their burrows into the rock. It's impressive given the density of the pillars. What's impressive is that I actually caught it. Was worried. Is this something new? It is! Okay. Alright, well, get rid of some other garbage. There's a bunch of bright pollen around here. I don't necessarily need it. It doesn't do anything, I don't think. Yeah. Should be relatively easy to get more of if that is a thing I want to do. This 20% is nice, actually. I should grab extras of whatever this thing is. A shard of chitin plate left behind by a segmented worm. So I want to keep shed feathering on. So let's dump some soothe spores, or some brine shell, or some sphere fragments, or... I feel like I have a decent amount of power sources. Although I guess dumping a 25 in order to get an extra 20 is not the best course of action. We can dump the soothe spore, though. These small young petals are starting to open up to the three suns of Gliese. This place will be even more beautiful one day. More samples? Is it a thing I need? Oh, it is a thing I need. Okay, well, sorry, extra sample. Not today, I guess. Petal shoot. A new shoot of a petal plant from the Pillar Gardens. Cool. Alright, so I do want to make sure that I visit all of the spots on the pillars, because that might scare up another one of the fast-moving dudes. And we do need to find 2 more of those. Make sure I visited all these spots on the edges. I think I have, but like, you've got to be sure. Okay. So that was also one that I'd already seen, apparently. Interesting. I guess maybe I scared it between 2 different pillars. That's believable. And I already had this sample. Yep. Alright, I guess let's go find someplace new. These 2 tendril bridges almost meet before disappearing into holes in the pillar. Are they rooted to the rock inside? Quite possible. No samples here, though. Samples? Samples? This broad pillar is full of rough-looking boreholes. Chitin plates glinting here and there suggest they are burrows. Aha! I have observed these creatures have a bright tail lure made from many thin pointed plates. What is its purpose, I wonder? To get scared, I guess. Okay, I already have the plates. I don't need more plates, but thank you. The lower parts of this pillar are marked with narrow holes. Around them, small plates of chitin shells glint. Pillar worm. These are worms? Do worms fly like that? I'll name these pillar worms. They seem to have burrows all over this place. These long, segmented creatures with distinctive bright tails burrow into the hard rock of the pillars to protect themselves. Great. I love that. That's good for them. What dictates which pillars the tendrils stretch to and from? I'm yet to see a tendril which is only halfway formed. Is that true? I'm not sure that's true. Because there was the one that was like half extended down there. This patch of water is entirely enclosed by webbed tendrils, and thin strands float through the water like lost hairs. These entwined tendrils are flat like blades of kelp and hold themselves taut between the pillar tops. This pillar top is thick with waving petals, each one caked in tiny particles of golden pollen. Bye, friend! The green tendrils that enclose this space seem to calm the currents, creating a pool of still water. The green tendrils don't seem to reach east beyond this point, preferring instead to turn back into the protected waters south of here. Alright, well that's probably the direction we're going then. Out away from the pillars, the ocean grants a sense of vertigo, fading down to unknown depths below. This pillar, unlike the others, lacks a garden of its own. Have the plants been cleared, or have they simply not reached this far yet? Yeah, I keep forgetting that we're underwater, so when things fly, kind of, they're just swimming away, which is completely normal for how things traverse. Because, like, they kind of went out of their way to talk about how the feathered frond-like creatures mostly cling to the tendrils that go between the pillars. But if they get knocked loose, they can swim poorly. And I kind of read that as, like, if they get knocked loose and fall into the water, which is inaccurate, because we're already in the water. So, it's difficult to remember that we're swimming, and, like, swimming underwater. All of this is underwater. Sometimes it's difficult to remember, as opposed to just not being underwater. Which is, you know, where things usually are. Excuse me. The light of the system's 3 suns falls onto something amber and huge to the east. It's almost like a pale orange cloud. What is this thing? Shifting tentacle. This translucent tentacle doesn't have a fixed shape. Its individual parts instead cycle through developmental phases as they cohere. Whoa. These golden yellow streams of life shift around solid objects held suspended in the water. This creature is impossibly large. I don't even know how to start logging data on it, but I'll try. Are these bones, rocks, or something else? What are the other options? What would something else entail here? This hard barrier is webbed with pulsing nodes. To gain access, we would need to slice through it somehow. Well, I do have a way to slice through barriers. But that seems dangerous. Doesn't that seem dangerous? That I feel like there is maybe danger here. This seems like a lot of alive things. I don't know that I want to take a torch to an alive thing. What are we looking at here? This appears to be a huge colonial life form. Is this what remains of the Site 1 facility? Let's cut it open. Let's cut it open. It's like the Galaxy Quest, like, what do you think it is? I don't know. Let's hit it with a rock. This golden colony is overwhelming. Where to even begin? Thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of zooids make up its shifting interior. It seems that the zooids are split into specialized functions and forms, from jellyfish-like medusoids to balloon-like bladders of gas. Alright, I guess it's torch time. Let's torch it. We can't just go around? There's so much around we could go through. We gotta cut through things? Seems dangerous. Behind the barrier, the throbbing please don't use that word. Interior of the colony is revealed, filled with throngs of zooids acting as one. Music? Really? I've never seen a colonial creature of this scale or complexity. Can it really be one single united creature made of ever-shifting processes? Sure, potentially is a lot to explore here. The vague shape of the facility's walls is preserved by the colony, the spaces between filled with shifting swarms of life. The interior of this creature is like a golden bubble, the light trapped and refracted by hundreds of pearly orbs strung together. Ellery, why are we inside the colony creature? What has led you to make this decision? Each zooid has a function within the colony. Their flow back and forth, evidence of some complex process that is impossible to parse. This colony breaks the surface 20 meters above. It must be floating on the surface, its body descending in layers like a living iceberg. Rattus colony. Okay. I'll call this colony Rattus. It floats beautifully across this ocean, like some impossible vessel. A vast colonial creature made of thousands of specialized zooids. It floats freely in the ocean, its upper section breaking the ocean's surface. So who's been talking over here? K. Clark. The artificers are gardeners, not colonizers. They rewrite genetic code to develop mutualism, to foster life. So I made a comment earlier in one of these streams about how it would be neat if the life that developed on this planet, instead of technological science, did all of their science via genetic engineering. And they had some sort of, like, built-in way to do that. The same way that we have, like, fingers to manipulate external tools. These guys had some sort of built-in way to manipulate genetic code, and that was just how they interacted with their environment. And so instead of, like, material sciences and stuff like that, instead of, you know, the way that technology developed on Earth, their technology developed through bioengineering. So whenever they needed to, like, you know, instead of building a drill, they would bioengineer some sort of animal to be able to drill through a thing. And that was, like, how their technology worked. And it seems like that is actually the case. DNA samples instead of books? Yeah, just shoot somebody a DNA fragment. All the information is right there. A fragment of a room, eaten away into some strange sculpture hanging in the blue. It's hard to imagine what this place once was. M. Thorfinn. That is absurd, Kevin. They're no different to us, adapting their environment so they may survive. No, they are not us. Kevin. This is Kevin. From some angles, the zooid-clogged walls of the facility line up, and I can imagine the past life of this place with all its human dramas. More gas bladders holding the remains of the lab in place, like the pieces of a torn map hinting at the history of a long-ruined structure. But hey, samples! Am I full? I am very full. Gotta keep those. So I guess this is unnecessary. Since I have extras of this, and I don't care about my oxygen at the moment, we'll just dump these into power. Colony bladder. A gas-filled zooid sampled from a floating colony. The ocean stretches east from here, a blue desert beneath 3 red suns. What might lie out there beyond the range of this suit? These shoals of golden life look solid as I approach, but passing through, they're little more than flurries of petals caught on the current. This piece of the lab floats on gas-filled bladder zooids, keeping it buoyant. Some float in the open water, perfect sample candidates. Yeah, right, Dalek? Like, it's very humanocentric, that viewpoint. Of course they're like us. Everything is like us. After all, we're like us. Why wouldn't they be? Okay, I don't need any more of those. We're good. It's actually something I learned about just interpersonal interaction in general. Like, one of the hardest things to learn when you are trying to figure out how other people click is that they are not you and don't do things the way that you do. And on some level, that's easy to internalize. Like, oh, I like peanut butter, but not everybody likes peanut butter. This is a person that tells me they don't like peanut butter. Therefore, they don't like peanut butter. But, like, on other levels, it's really, really difficult to remember that to extend empathy to the point where, like, the default way to do empathy is to put yourself in the situation and think about how you would feel if you were in that situation, and then assume that they are feeling the way that you would feel if you were in their shoes. And, yeah, it doesn't work in all situations. The depth of how not like you everyone can be also is pretty crazy. That's very true. It's very true. The hollow structure of the colony allows water to flow throughout its core, creating both bulbous corridors and open halls. Why would the colony preserve the rooms of the facility as it consumes them? What bizarre processes are in action here? I don't know. Let's get more samples and find out. Oh my god. Suddenly everything is here. Eaten away on one side, the remains of this lab are like an open set, a staging ground for the colony's process of sublimation. But this is like the interior of the lab, not just the interior of the colony. So that's potentially useful. Sam, he wants to free them. And what do the Artificers want, Hannah? Has anyone asked them? Probably not. Constantine is too arrogant. Just because he discovered the Artificers doesn't mean he can decide their fate. Uh-huh. Sure, that checks out. And I gotta remember I can come back up here. Tiny medusoid creatures are budding from the walls here, splitting off from luminous stems to join the flow. The walls are a flowing mass of tentacles. Some have broken away or are floating freely in the water. We might be able to extract them. Alright, well, time to extract them, I guess. Once I have the room. Everything here is important, so I guess we just dunk this. And fill up our container with all new stuff. Is there multiples? There are multiples. Okay, cool. Colony tentacle. A zooid tentacle sampled from a floating colony. Right, no more room for samples. Between the ragged parts of the facility stretch looping bridges, pumping liquid back and forth from the heart of the colony. Beneath the translucent webs of spherical growths, half-digested walls sit suspended, like an exploding room, frozen in time. Okay, so we've done a full loop, so let's go back around this way, and we can get into the center. And hope I don't need to take any samples, because my inventory is completely full. The central laboratory is almost complete, apart from the large tree-like growths cutting through its walls. We can't let this continue. We never intended this. That thing they're building, I know. What thing are they building, though? Elaborate. Constantine has already left for Site 2. If the facility fails and Site 3 is breached, the Oceanic Mind can be stopped. The Oceanic Mind? What the hell does that mean? Dappled light fills the chamber, passing through its complex branching strands, orbited by swarms of zooids. This looks like a biologist's laboratory. Well, yes! What else did you think was happening here, Ellery? It must have been the first exploratory base on the planet. They discovered the artificers. They started all this. These were scientists like me, employed by Baikal to study this place. How did it end like this? The mines they were building in the arcology, the genetic research they were doing here. They were all working towards something. Something bigger than just one lab. Presumably the Oceanic Mind? How could they have let this happen, these biologists? Our first contact turned into a resource grab. Scan all you can, and then let's leave this place. I'll review everything back at the base. Won't be long before the colony eats this place away once and for all. True. Alright, well. I've done what I needed to. Who's getting the entire ocean on this planet is a linked intelligent single swarm vibes from the lore. Yeah, there's a lot of colonial intelligences and networks of subterranean routes and like things that are connected to other things in a variety of ways. They are all over the place for sure, for sure. Sorry, I tried to grab a Kleenex and the whole box just went eating. Online again? Good. We have a lot to talk about. I've been digging through what we discovered at the facility. I was right to assume that the facility was the first base on the planet, the start of all this. The lead biologist, Constantine Hess, found the artificers here more than 30 years ago. But what is truly incredible is that what he discovered they could do. Genetic reprogramming, rewriting RNA and DNA, both in themselves and their local environment. Alright, so the snippets of lore were leading me in the correct direction. Some Earth cephalopods could rewrite their RNA, but nothing at this scale or detail. The artificers tended to this world, nudging its life into new arrangements. Not only that, but their exoskeletons. They were quantum computers. Ah! Okay, so actually working off of their remains. Silicon wafers of incredible complexity and purity, able to simulate the outcomes of their genetic rewriting. The artificers were housed in natural machines, ones that evolved here over millions of years ago. Their complexity far outstrips our own. We could have learned so much from them. But Baikal wanted the artificers' abilities for themselves. And based on what we found at Site 2, we know how this ended. A total collapse. A vast microbial fuel cell leaking into the ocean, eating everything away. The artificers gone, their genetic abilities used in death to save this planet's life. They died for this planet, and you are all that survives them. Well, perhaps not all. I keep seeing the same thing mentioned in the data, the same term appearing in fragments. The Oceanic Mind. As far as Baikal were concerned, you were just the beginning, the first mind. The artificers were the key, inscrutable creatures with a quiet power. Able to simulate, predict, and then able to change. They could rewrite life itself. For Baikal, the opportunity this provided was clear. While the artificers were like gardeners, caretakers of this world, Baikal imagined something else. An oceanic mind, providing total control of the ecosystem, able to enact their will. That's what they were building when the colony collapsed, and it's still out there. In the deep, powered by the heat of hydrothermal vents, the oceanic mind sleeps. What? I want to see it for myself. We have to know how this all ended. Oh, that's a good idea. Definitely poke the sleeping, whatever it is. Not bear as such. I've marked the approximate position on the map, way out to the north, deep in the abyss. Let me know when you're ready to see this through. Well, that certainly implies some things, doesn't it? Alright, all of this needs to go into the base. We gotta scan it all. One more diary entry, so we're probably pretty close to the end of the game here. I was born on Earth. Born in the city of Ponta Delgada, out in the Atlantic, among the turquoise waters and green slopes of the Azores. My father was studying the dying waters, chasing the last known pod of sperm whales to record a final fading image of their impossible spatial language before it was lost forever. My mother was a journalist, writing a book on citizen scientists that never found a publisher. We lived there, and all along the Atlantic coast of Europe for almost a decade before life became impossible, the storms tearing into the tidal walls, flooding city after city, clothes twisted in foaming water. We joined the latest waves of refugees, found ourselves beside the Thames, resettled in London. From that privileged viewpoint, I watched our oceans die, and then my parents too. At some point, once I'd left that sad, gray planet behind on a string of Baikal contracts, I forgot that turquoise water ever existed. You were born here. And maybe here, things can be different. Sure. Yeah, Earth is what I am getting is, Earth is a hellhole, is what I am learning here. So, let's do better? That would be nice. Keep hitting weird buttons on my keyboard and, like, tabbing out by accident. Alright, let's do some scanning. Also, let's learn about these new aminals. The Rattus colony is a huge colonial organism made of layers of zooids, all occupying different roles within its large and complex body. Closer to a living island or iceberg than a creature, Rattus is a free-floating structure which travels across the surface of Glies's planet-spanning ocean. Trying to observe the patterns of Rattus is a difficult task. I've counted tens of different zooid types, flowing in constant movement throughout its cavernous interior. We can assume that they occupy the typical roles of a colonial organism: motility, defense, digestion, and reproduction. But in a colony so vast, many other processes may be happening. Does Rattus have any neural activity? And why does it cling to the remains of the Baikal lab? Sampling some of the different zooid types may help us understand more about this colony. Actually, let's do the sampling first. Let's, that's not the button I wanted. Let's do the sampling, and then we can come back and see, what the results are. Right, this is the one that we don't have the animal for? Yes, okay. Yep, Rattus colony updated. Rattus colony updated. Shimmer blooms updated. Pillar worm updated. Sea silk updated. Alright, keep on updating. Keep going. I believe in you. Gardener, pillar worm, sea silk number 2, gardener number 2, fantastic. And this is from the walkers out in the deeps near the brine pits that I didn't get enough clicks on, I think. So we got to go back out there if we want to get that taxonomy added. Sampling the colony's gas bladders has helped us to analyze how Radis stays afloat. It seems that thousands of these bladders of different sizes both keep Radis at the surface and hold the fragments of the laboratory in place. These bladders, with their high oxygen content, can be inflated or deflated individually to respond to currents and move Radis across the ocean. This suggests that Radis has some way of orchestrating massive changes across its huge volume. In a sense, perhaps Radis is better thought of as an individual with various specialized organs rather than a colony, and yet it shows no signs of a central intelligence. If I was to discover neural activity within Radis, could I even understand it? This creature is so alien to our way of understanding the world. Analyzing Radis's tentacles has shown they possess an ability to secrete metal-digesting substances. Heck yeah, digest all the metal! The conclusion is that these tentacles are consuming the lab piece by piece, using it to fuel the colony's incredible growth. Perhaps Radis was once a tiny creature floating in a biologist's tank. When the facility was breached, Radis was gifted a near inexhaustible amount of metal to consume, allowing it to grow to its vast size. One day it'll eat away the entire structure, its body carrying the shadow of this planet's first human settlement. Sometimes I wish that our marks on Earth could be erased so easily. But the only shadows in our oceans are those of thousands of extinct species we will never regain. Colony approximately 70 meters in height. Digestive tentacles, zooid spawning chains, gas bladders, membranes. Bladders, medusas, and pearl carriers. I didn't hear anything about pearls. Gardeners are feathery, slow-moving creatures that live among the pillar garden flora. Their upper part is mainly composed of densely packed fern-like arms. Underneath is a body resting on a dense profusion of short root-like legs that anchor the gardener, but also enable it to walk, albeit very slowly. Short root-like legs. This is under animals, bristle carriers. As gardeners move, they also rhythmically wave their arms, though it is unclear if this is for balance or is part of their pruning action within the petal gardens they inhabit. Gardeners don't do anything fast, but they do travel between pillars using the silken tendrils that grow beneath them. More analysis is needed to discern why and what their relationship to these gardens really is. Analysis of a garden's feather, which I have called a pinule, close enough, has revealed the gardeners feed on the same thing they camouflage themselves as, the garden's petals. The gardener feather pinnals have a razor-like edge, with which the gardener cuts away thin sections of petal to feed on without damaging the plant. However, unlike an actual feather, they contain nerves, suggesting the gardener can deliberately control them for precise pruning and for maneuvering in the water if they become dislodged from a tendril bridge. Quite why they risk such journeys, given their ineffective swimming, remains to be seen. Further study may unlock the puzzle of their purpose within the biome. Analysis of a gardener's arm, filled with pinnules, has shed some light on the relationship between them and the pillar gardens. The debris coating the sample is actually pollen from various garden species, suggesting that gardeners are an important part of the cross-pollination process. This means their contribution to the ecosystem is not just limited to pruning the blooms, they help to propagate them too. Indeed, given their roaming paths from pillar to pillar, they must have some way of communicating and ensuring that no one garden becomes wilted or overgrown. This could be a eusocial hive structure or a territorial signature they leave behind. Either way, they're a well-coordinated team of marine landscape gardeners. Very purpose-specific life forms, huh? Whoa! It just looks like a giant seaweed. But I guess the, seaweed roots are actually legs. And the pinnles are arms. Fascinating. What a strange creature. What a strange game. What a strange series of life forms. pillar worms are long, thin, segmented creatures that live deep in the dark tunnels and recesses of the rock pillars found in the East Reef. They're frustratingly difficult to observe properly, due both to their shyness and their surprisingly rapid swimming speed. They can, however, be startled out of their burrows by consistent tapping on the rock. Once glimpsed, it's evident they have striations that taper to a bright, lure-like tail. Their front half is protected with overlapping, rigid plates. They also seem to be burrowing or excavating creatures, ejecting dust and settlement periodically from their burrows. Further analysis is required to determine why they live so reclusively within their pillars. Analysis of a pillar worm's chitinous plate shows a creature heavily adapted to its burrowing lifestyle. It seems that the chitinous plates found around the organism's head are precisely grooved, allowing the worm to chip away at existing recesses to create tunnels, and funneling the sediment back towards the entrance. These grooves should also help protect the creature's head from abrasions while traversing the burrows. It's logical, then, that these bugs create the tunnels that other life, especially the silken tendrils and the petal gardeners, require. They must be one of the foundations of this unique ecosystem, turning the hard rock pillars into vertical gardens through their obsessive burrowing. Dissection of a pillar worm's tail has shed light on their hunting and feeding behaviors. The tail itself is made from many panels of bright, translucent chitin. Given the tail's brightness and the way it waves in a current, it is reasonable to conclude that the worm is using it as a lure. It could be an effective tool for the worm to attract small grazers to a tunnel's mouth with, before pouncing from the burrow and pulling its prey into the hole with it. However, the tail might serve another function, too, as a countermeasure against predators. Was this specimen bitten off, or willingly ejected? Either way, the pillar worm remains good at hiding its secrets within those dark burrows. Fans, grooved shell fragments, head section, oak leaf markings, feeding mandibles, tunneling limbs. Here, the head. Whoa. That is a creepy looking worm. I don't like it. We got sea silk, and we got the remaining things for shimmer blooms. Analysis of a shimmer bloom shoot has revealed a coiled stalk with it which each shimmer bloom possesses, allowing them to control their height in the water. That means that if a shimmer bloom grows beyond the optimum depth for photosynthesis, it is able to extend its stalk and rise in the water towards the surface. However, due to the constant sunlight, which is an effective Gliessa's tidally locked orbit, shimmer blooms also use this ability to retract themselves away from the sun in order to protect themselves from cell damage. These beautiful plants are highly attuned to their environment, and I can think of no better species to give Manet's name to. It is a name that deserves to live on in this place. I'm sorry I can't do more. Shimmer Bloom Garden. It's just like one single petal off of a stalk. Extensible stalk. The stalk retracting and extending is definitely neat. Pollen producing stamen, photosynthetic cells. Cool. Alright, let's talk about sea silks. Tell me more about sea silks, Dr. Ellery. This bright green plant stretches its silken tendrils in long horizontal swaths between pillars in the East Reef. This plant is characterized by its fibrous, fine, and flexible strands that can be as thick as rope and as thin as human hair, appearing almost white in sunlight. How they form their bridges and why the plant's tendrils do not rise to the surface is unclear. I've observed one plant intertwined with strands from other pillars, and when these multiple strands meet, often in areas roughly equidistant from their respective pillars, they seem to form a web. I wonder if strands from individual plants are drawn to one another. Analysis of a strand of sea silk has shown that it is in fact from two different plants that have somehow conjoined where they met. Moreover, there are younger growths formed near to the end of each plant strand, demonstrating their ability to form new shoots along their length, which must be why I've observed a web-like pattern in some of the tangles. However, new growths require a good deal of energy. The strands are green on one side, a sign of photosynthesis no doubt, but their underside is distinctly darker and more porous looking. Are the strands able to absorb matter floating up from underneath them? I need to analyze a root structure or something similar to find out more. I was surprised to discover that the sea silk does not end in roots. After finding a damaged strand, I found it emanating from a kind of silken ball that I initially took to be a root. However, in lab analysis, it was revealed to be an entirely separate creature. The sea silk is a product or plant-like limb of this organism. I discovered the root itself to be able to put down, but also retract strands of sea silk from within. It's an unusual fusion of creatures. Is this a symbiotic relation or a parasitic one? Regardless, these curious creatures and their growths are the bridge builders of the pillar ecosystem, turning isolated gardens into a connected network and helping them flourish. The root, strands, tendrils. Oh, wild. Keep on learning new things, I guess. How's Monet looking in the medbay? Not great. Not great. That is a lot of individual life form pieces. Something is definitely happening here. The generator is kind of entrancing to watch, like the filling up of circles and stuff. I don't know. I like it. I'm into it. All right, I guess we move on. Let's go find the oceanic mind. Deep in the abyss. All right. I wish I could zoom out a bit. But alright, straight to the abyss. I could try and find the rest of these samples, go back and try and 100%, but I don't think I care. I think I am interested in following this plot to its conclusion without doing too much additional work. Let's go see the oceanic mind. We're almost at the hydrothermal vents, 3 kilometers down. This has to be close to the suit's range. I can hear the plates creaking. Somehow we are maintaining 1 atmosphere of pressure inside the hard suit. If we make it back up, we'll be setting a strong first record for deep dives on Gliese. If we make it back up, says Dr. Ellery, which sounds like is not Dr. Ellery's primary concern. Hang on. Message log. There's almost nothing in the water column here. No life to speak of. But the oceanic mind should be somewhere ahead. That's our target. Whatever monster Baikal left us, I'm ready. Let's find it. Layered with a wispy fog of oceanic ooze, the darkness of the plain is absolute. Excuse me. Oh, damn, I have been muted this whole time. Wow. Why have I been muted? What did I do? Did I press a button? I didn't feel like I... All right, yeah, that's probably on me. That's all right. I've just been reading the dialogue. There hasn't really been much else to say so far. I lost that, degree by degree, as Earth's oceans died. But here, things can be like that once again. I guess I could go back and start this dialogue again. Like, the important part is here. This really feels like kind of the end of the game here, so... Probably a good idea to reread it, so it's not just me being muted the whole time. Okay, time to go. I'm beginning the ascent. So they're still out there, the Artificers. This is their planet, and we owe them so much. I suppose it's your planet, too. With the mind being a failure, the colony destroyed. You are its last artifact, born here. And now, this is my home too. Mine and Minet's. There's so much left for me to do. So much to study. So much to understand. Our history here, it's ugly. It's something I don't want to be part of. But this planet's future, maybe we can have a part in that. Minet gave everything for the truth. Some residual part of the Artificers changed her. But I hope she knows that she succeeded. This place is no longer a secret. No longer Baikal's to control. Thank you, Minet. Actually, I'm actually curious about this. Like, what about this situation means that it's no longer under the control of Baikal? Like, is Ellery in a position to get a message out to people? Is Ellery in a position to show this planet off? Like, if anything, I think Ellery is inclined to keep this planet a secret so that nobody else tries to do what Baikal did, rather than trying to make this planet public knowledge and invite the rest of humanity here. That seems like it's way more dangerous to the ecosystem than just staying here for the rest of your natural life without letting anybody know. But whatever. And thank you. To you. For staying with me. For guiding me. Together, I think we can make a change. Show humanity Baikal's crimes. Make them accountable. It's really, really optimistic. We both carry burdens here, but the past doesn't define us. Life continues here, despite everything that happened. I can find comfort in that. I think I'm going to stay. I don't have anything left out there, but here I have Minet, I have you, and I have a purpose. Someone needs to swim these waters, to catalog this world. Do they? I mean, I guess if you want to, but like, needs to? When I was little, I swam every day. I would walk down to the ocean and step into it without a thought. I lost that, degree by degree, as Earth's oceans died. But here, things can be like that once again. These waters can wash all the old ways away. And together, we'll see what's left when they do. For Aeneas. Okay, so that is the end of the game, actually. Optimism is not intrinsically dissimilar from naivety. True. They're saying the metal-eating spores are a strong enough defense system? I don't think that's accurate either. I mean, maybe that's what they're saying. Maybe that's the implication. It's like if anybody tried to set up the same system as before, then you could sick the colony on them and not let them build. That seems really unlikely. That seems really unlikely. I think she's just saying that if it's not secret, that if the knowledge is not restricted to only one corporation, then another corporation wouldn't be able to do this without oversight, without other people being involved, without, like, I don't know, maybe some form of oversight, like people knowing what's happening here. Phil Fish contributed to this? Is this the same Phil Fish that got scared off the internet after Fez finished? Did he actually get involved in games again? That would be really interesting. I don't actually know what he did after he left. Oh, the long list of backers here. Okay, well, that's not exactly a satisfying ending. But I don't really know what else they could have done with it. Like, you come to this planet where you're the only human left, and it has to build up to some sort of interaction with the artificers. And for that interaction to be the last artificer left alive, who is wholly uninterested in human contact, like, it makes sense, but I don't like it. Hey, wake up. Rude. You've been out a while. I've been out for 3.5 hours. That's normal than my usual time. As usual. Okay, whatever. I've been thinking. We've maybe got a few weeks before someone turns up here. It could be Baikal, chasing down the transmission signature of the space. It could be someone else entirely, passing through the system, picking up my shuttle transponder. Whoever it is, we need to be ready. I want to log everything we can, every species, every sample. I want a wealth of data to show to the inhabited systems, to the off-world colonies, to Earth. They won't erase us. They won't erase this place. We're going to show it to everyone, together. Okay, so safety and publicity is what Ellery is going for. So let's start studying. There's a whole ocean to go at, and just a few weeks to do it. Okay, I'm ready. Choose our next dive. Alright, so that is the end of the story, it would seem. Now the real work begins. Whatever was left of the oceanic mind, it's dead. Another failed experiment, another biological atrocity to add to humanity's list. But I don't want to let it define us and our role on this planet. We can't start fresh, I know that. But the artificers are still here, and that means we can reach them. I want to show them we are curious, we are kind, we are able to live alongside them. There is still so much left to study here, so many questions to answer. But I'm not scared anymore. I'm excited to see what we can achieve in the time we have. People will come here soon enough, and when they do, I want to show them what we have found, the evidence of Baikal's crimes, and what we need to protect. If people can see this place for what it is, a second chance, then maybe they'll want to protect it too. That's what my father believed, and my mother believed. That if people could understand what they were losing, they would want to save it. Let's get to work. Congrats on another tutorial. Yeah, it seems like this is explicitly leading into, alright, you finished the plot, but there's, you know, all of the rest of the samples to get. Go get more samples. Which, fair. Not clear whether or not there's going to be a reward for that other than being able to see all of the world building, but given the path Earth took in this universe, I feel like safety and publicity isn't the best to rely on. Right? Right? Yeah, I feel like there's a fundamental flaw in Ellery's approach here, but who am I to poke fun at that? I'm just the AI. What do I know? But, yeah, I guess we are free to go exploring, and there's still a good, like, hour and chunk left in stream. So, I might as well spend the rest of it exploring. I don't really have a reason to continue trying to 100% this game. So this is probably going to be the last stream of it. But, like, I don't need to end stream now. We might as well see what samples we can pick up in the time we have left. I'm okay with that. Alright, so where do we think we are going if we are going to go get more samples? There's 2 samples out here. There's a sample out here. 2 samples out here. I also need to go back to the brine pools and see if I can hit the last button on one of the animals that was roaming around. Because one of the animals didn't actually get tagged. So we're just going to go exploring and see what we can see. I don't have a good sense of where those animals were, though. Animals with buttons? I mean, animals that need to get touched. If you touch an animal enough times, then you get to write down its name. And there was an animal out here that I didn't touch enough times. But I don't know which animal. I think it's like there was like a place where there were sort of walkers in like a brine ocean. And that might have been it. Well, as long as we're here, let's take some samples, I suppose. But these are samples we already have. This is also samples we already have. But, like, okay. Oh, this one might actually not be a sample we already have. This might be the one that I discarded. I'll try and keep that around. I don't know where that, like, brine ocean area was, though. So I'm kind of wandering here. This is a big pool of brine. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is what I was looking for. Nope, not helpful. Back the way we came? Really? Nothing else? Oh, way up here. Okay. This is maybe leading us to some other animals. No, nothing up here. Maybe I went the wrong direction. Yes, this is very VN-like. The movement and interaction with the environment is a real thing. There is, you know, a little bit of inventory management to do, but it's a lot closer to a VN than anything else. I guess I did end up scanning the fan sheath. Oh, what was I missing? Alright, well, I didn't find the thing that I was looking for. But we can go back out there. Because I thought it was going to be up here, but maybe it's like down here and over to the right? That's also plausible. If that's a direction that I can go. Into the ocean. This is where I need to be, I think. weird animal noises. Yo, is that it? There it is. Brine Strider. A stilt-legged, crab-like creature that clears the brine pool of dead remains. Call these mournful creatures Brine Striders. They're walking lanterns, calling out in the dark. Providing a habitat for glowing life on its wide shell. Okay, that was what I was looking for. Now I can request retrieval, and now I can scan the last few things that I have, and then we can take a look and see what else needs to be scanned, what else needs to be found. But I think this is the actual last life form that I am still missing in terms of scan. Brine Striders are towering crab-like creatures which live among the brine pools. Their tall, reed-like legs keep their carapace from the toxic waters that claim most other creatures. The bones and shells of creatures that died in the brine pools adorn the Striders' carapaces, pulled from the brine by a pair of extended claws. Among these rocky piles, smears of bioluminescence glow blue. This pulsing life, whatever it is, finds shelter in the remains the Striders collect. But why do the Striders make these creatures a home in the first place? I'm also curious how, if the Striders are vulnerable to the brine, do adolescents reach the heights required to survive? In order to understand more about these obscure creatures, perhaps we need to analyze the glowing brine-clogged remains they gather. Perhaps we do. Analysis of a juvenile Strider's carapace paints an enigmatic but beautiful picture. The adornments of shell and bone only begin as the Brine Strider matures, each arrangement being the life's work of that individual. Though the Striders often live apart from each other, it seems that they still communicate. Their adornments, which grow taller and brighter, act as beacons. They can signal for food, signal to mate, they keep company from afar. Gathering the remains in their glowing bacterial colonies is a ritualistic process, a way for each of these large and ponderous creatures to create an identity within this ecosystem, through a living, growing work of biological sculpture. Neat. Alright, so the thing that we're missing... Oh, that's Coldfire Fan. I thought there was going to be another brine pool thing. Reef Cap. Table Stalk. Sing Stalk. Reef Stalks. Bloom Fan. Bloom Froth. Coldfire Fan. Yeah, there must have been something else that I could scavenge out here, but I didn't find a spot for it. And then there's the Slowmation secretions here that I still need to sample, so that'll be the next thing we do. Yeah, it would seem that whatever the big things are, the Brine Striders, their identity is their artwork. It's kind of a neat way of looking at it, for sure. Of course, I'm not sure how much intelligence we need to attribute to the Brine Striders. It might be that it is all, you know, mostly a instinctual thing. But it could also be that they have, you know, that it's art in a true sense. Alright, I know that I have sampled these secretions before, but the things that I needed to carry got too much, so I wasn't able to bring them to the surface. So the real trick is remembering where they are and finding them again. It was like a sample point off to the side here, if I am remembering correctly. Yeah, I think this might be what I'm looking for. Perfect. Alright, great. Can't link from here, so I gotta get out first. But This is exactly what I was looking for. Yeah, the incredibly ominous red overtone and the very like atmospheric dark music. This place has done really well. They really did well with this. It took a while for the game to actually start doing anything with kind of vibe or whatever. Like, it took it a while to move away from just pure like the joy of discovery and research. But it did a pretty good job once it needed to start worrying about vibe. .6 hours. Analysis of the patterns secreted by the slow masons suggests something close to rudimentary communication. There are repeated motifs created by multiple members of the species, unlikely to have emerged simply from their natural movement and feeding patterns. Due to their slow pace, it would take an extensive amount of time to determine and prove a correlation between rhythmic alterations in the pattern and events faced by the polyps. Whether they represent warnings, a form of social engagement, or markers of potential nutrient sources remains unclear. But how are these patterns perceived by the other masons? Without any obvious eyes, they cannot see them. But perhaps like Braille, these secretions are read by touch alone. Pattern language. Yet another thing that has evolved on this planet to eat the remains of the human laboratories and stuff. Right? Like, this thing exists pretty much exclusively to dissolve metal and extract nutrients from it. Alright, so that covers this. So now we want to get whatever this is. Cold fire fan tissue. Sure. Large tangle. Oh, these are the ones that shock me when I try to go through them, right? Whatever. Kind of a nasty hit. Maybe worth it. Deep pollen. It's not particularly helpful. Fan sheath. Mucal tissue. Okay, is this the one I was looking for? Because this feels like I have scanned this. Fairly confident I've scanned this. But alright, we'll just keep going off to this side here and see if we can find something else. Zot. Shed pollen. Suppose I can afford to just go around this piece here and try to not get shocked. Oh, I can't. Okay. Let's just get shocked then. Oh, this is a new space. Okay, I just hadn't visited this. I see. A wilted fan faintly pulses while spines of its body have broken away, still faintly glowing in the silt. We could sample them here. Well, let's do that. Sounds like a plan. Glowing spine. Spine from glowing fan, still faintly pulsing with warm lights. Cool. Found the thing. I wonder if there's a thing that we need to scan again in order for it to apply to the Brine Striders. Like one of the other things in that area that was like Brine Strider something or other. Shed pollet, maybe. Molted skin, maybe. Veil tissue. But something else from the brine pools seemed like it might matter here. Because there was a thing that maybe could have applied. Yeah, here it is. Brine Strider updated. Cool. Okay. Yeah, it had it marked as like... It had it sort of filled out otherwise. Because it... I was able to analyze it before because it applied to multiple things. But it had it marked off. I guess because it tried to... Bad UI. I'm complaining about bad UI. Whoa. I guess because I rescanned them so it all showed up again. Oh no. Disaster. Deep Orrery. I just want to find the Brine Strider. Here we go. Analysis of a brine-clogged shell reveals a complex chain of chemical reaction. Among this chemical richness, a form of extremophile bacteria feeds on the brine's chemical traces. When the Striders collect these remains, they also collect the bacterial colonies that live on them. Removed from the brine, but still feeding on the chemical-saturated shells and bones, these bacterial colonies produce a bright glow, a side effect of their metabolism. Do the Striders know that they are turning themselves into pale beacons? Seems to be the point, yes. What is the nature of the relationship between these bacteria and the Striders? I need to understand more about the life cycle of a Strider, how they grow to such heights. Barbed lower legs. 4 to 6 meters. Wow. These things are enormous. This is like War of the Worlds. Like giant, not tripods, hexapods, a million pods, octopods, however many pods they have. But, geez. That would be kind of freaky to run into. I need to just be able to mark all of this as red. Hello? Can't back out? Alright, and now I need to find... the fans, right? The bloom fan... Not bloom fans, the... What was the thing that I just got the last piece of? It was this thing? A spine from a glowing fan. Alright, so let's see if we can find whichever those fans are. Plants, I guess? No. Fungi, maybe? Nope. Well, they're not bacteria, so I guess they're somewhere here. Fans? Cold fire fan. Is the spine? Is that what I found? God, I have no idea what I found. This was the sheath. Okay, so this is the second thing. Analysis of the cold fire fan spine we acquired shows that fans not only possess light-producing cells, but also light receptors, too. These incredibly sensitive cells are found on the front of the fan, and show the fans are able to perceive the lights of other creatures, including other fans. As each fan tends to its own oasis, perhaps the fans use their lights as territorial markers, signaling to other fans that their basalt column is taken. They may even use them to communicate with other species, responding to the flashing patterns of veils, for example, and letting them know not to approach their territory. Like lighthouses, cold fire fans seem to act as both safe havens and warning signals, depending on the creature they're signaling. Cool. Alright, well that was a bit of a mess, but all good. Now there's stuff to be acquired here in a variety of ways. Reef cap tissue, reef stalk spore, sing stalk tissue, and table stalk growth. Alright, let's see what we can find. I definitely remembered all of those things that I just clicked on. I'm gonna need something to open this stuff up. Which doesn't seem to be immediately available from here. Maybe I can get something from nearby here? I know there was stuff I needed to go exploring this way for. Yeah, maybe this will be what I was looking for. Shrill sack, yep. Oh, also current. Yeah. This western shelf is buffeted by currents, bringing with them a scattering of swirling spores. Broken shelf of the reef reaches out towards the deep like a hand. This is the first of 3 fingers which mark the edge. Okay. Here a rift meets the exposed. Start traveling before I run out of go. This western shelf is buffeted by its currents, bringing them a scattering of spores. Here a rift meets the exposed reef edge. What caused this huge slash into the shelf? Surely not just erosion. Across the channel is a gap in the rock wall. If the strong currents rushing down the rift can be navigated, we can cross here. Alright, well, let's spend some more oxygen on it, I guess. A shattered section of the wall allows passage onto the outcrop. Sure, I love outcrops. This is definitely new territory. This section of the shelf, sheltered by the tall headland to the north, is strangely peaceful. Beyond these thickly entwined stalks, a violent current can be heard, rushing down through a gap in the headland. Vector blocked. The water is funneled by the rocks into this clearing, make it hard going against the rush. Yep. Gotta press the button again. Sure. A large boulder protects the mouth of this passage from the onrushing waters. Battered by the water, these stalks cling to the rocks. A single creature braves the current to graze on their twisted forms. Attached to the side of the shelf, this canopy is partially bent by the current. If we're careful, we can sample a growth from its top. Heck yeah. That's what I'm here for. High value. 20 and 30. Canopy growth. Ribbed growth found entwined in stalk canopies. Alright, leaving is hard, but also we can just fly. So I'll do that. Get extracted, idiot. I should keep some shrill sacks, though. Shrill sacks are useful. Laboratory studies of the growths found in the upper canopy reveals that they contain the genetic material of tens of different species. These growths hold, within their round casing, seeds for many species local to the table stalks, as well as spores for the reproduction of the stalk colonies themselves. Fed by a carefully maintained flow of the correct minerals and chemicals, these seeds and spores are preserved by the stalks, kept viable for long periods. Could these seed banks be a complex example of collective serotiny? That is a weird sentence. I've never run into that word before. On Earth, some plants hold viable seeds until an environmental trigger, such as a wildfire or disease, causes their release. Perhaps the stalks are preserving the local ecology in case of environmental disaster. Are they the guardians of this reef? Sure. Probably. That sounds real. It sounds as real as anything else. Captured seed banks. Neat. This is where I'm going. Alright, so we got one of the things we needed. There was another thing down here. So I guess we have to go across the same thing. I forgot to... I should have just come back and picked it up. Oh well. Now I know how to get there. Not a problem. And getting more shrill sack samples is not the worst idea. I'm going to be navigating the western forest. Then something to open the way is definitely going to be useful. Maybe it's easier to cross here? Vector blocked. Why? Because of the current? Because of the current. Yeah, that's a much easier way than going up and around. These huge stones have been worn smooth by thousands of years of sitting beside the rift. Oh, interesting. It improves your movement speed, too. White sand is gathered against the boulders on either side of this passage in soft, pale drifts. I'm gonna move before I finish reading this. This tall stalk is torn open, perhaps by a predator. Inside, a rich tapestry of fungal life forms exposed to the open water are slowly dying. Well, bad for them, but good for me! That one, then, I can leave. Take my sample. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to scan the sample. Fungal cluster. Cluster of creatures sampled from the interior of a stalk. Attempts to analyze the interior of a sing stalk reveals many different organisms within the stalk that are not genetically related to it in any way. It seems that the sing stalks are actually tubular gardens, which host juvenile fungal creatures. The swaying of the stalks keeps these sealed environments fed with filtered water and microbial life, while allowing their spores to be distributed across the reef. However, I haven't found a single example of any of these life forms growing outside of a sing stalk, suggesting that they can only survive within these carefully controlled tube gardens, and that the spores they release are being used by the stalks for other purposes. Are these vertical farms designed to cultivate other species that might feed the rest of the stalks with showers of nutrient-rich spores? It's as likely as anything else. Spore release, fungal symbiotes, singing chitin plates. Yeah. Yeah, all of these, every single piece of life on this planet is just really elaborate. A lot going on. This is a reef cap tissue. That's going to be a little bit hard to find at this edge. Reef stalk spore. Interesting that I haven't found this yet. This feels like a very obvious, notable thing. This one makes sense, because I have to go through into the current in order to go get it. But maybe I can get both of these on a run. Now that I have the shrill sacs to let me through. There is a sample here. Is this more shrill sacs? Sure are. It's alright, I'm going to probably need a full inventory of these anyway. I don't particularly mind. This is another sample thing. Is it more shrill sacs? Glittering stalk, probably. That's probably enough. think this is the right area. Maybe over to the right, though. Yeah, I think this is now a little bit too far to the left for the area that I was looking at. But somewhere in this forest, we ought to be able to find another sample of something. This was sampled? Maybe this is what I'm looking for then. Calcified stalk. Stalk bark. Okay. We'll take one of those with me, I guess. I don't think that's what I was looking for, but... Air Canyon. Did these regrow? Rude! Yeah, I don't need to go down here. Down here is just a way to get up to here and kind of around one of these things. Sampling available. It's just more stock bark, right? Yeah, okay. Well, worst case, there is the stuff in the current that we need to go get, even if I don't find whatever the sample is in this, like, foresty area. Which I think is, like, way down here. Maybe this is the thing? Stalk patch. Stalk spore. Alright. Well, we'll see if that's it. I think it might be. Don't need another one. Well. Yeah, we need to get out to here. And then head south. Which we ought to be able to do now with our propulsion system. Oh. No, we cannot. Right, this is the starting area. This is like exactly where we started from. Literally the spawn location. But apparently we cannot get further south from here. Which is a little odd. Alright, so we need to find a way, probably up and to the right, that goes around this landmass, so that we can get into the rift. Oh, and I might be able to do that from here, actually. Yeah, this is sealed off in a way that I can navigate now and wasn't able to before. Let's go. The central rift is deep and wide, and the current running down it is relentless. Spores and other particles leave greasy streaks on the faceplate of my helmet as I hammer into it. The suit creaks as I lean into the flow. The unbroken walls ahead suggest nothing worth risking my life for. And yet, here we are. This mushroom-shaped stalk cowers beside the rift, its cap broken and segments of it sift in the sand. Could sample from here. Might as well. If I don't already have one. Is this something new? Yo, it's new. Heck yeah. Get sampled. Do I think that's it? Do I think that's what I was looking for? I'll believe it. Time to find more samples of stuff. Get sampled. Two new things. Cool. So the stock spore was new. Multiple taxonomy entries updated. You'll love to see it. Reef cap updated. Great. Analysis of reef cap tissue shows that the reef caps maintain a bacterial symbiont within a series of internal chambers, which, while unique to Gliese, resembles Epulopicium, a large-celled bacteria found in the stomachs of terrestrial surgeonfish. Epulopicium helps surgeonfish break down algae effectively, and the reef cap's bacteria seems to do the same, with traces of algae-like growths found in the cap chambers. Where is this algae coming from? However the caps receive it, this algae is allowing the caps to grow bacterial colonies, which then reduce themselves to endospores when the algae is digested. These endospores are then released to the stalks in the local area to renew the strength of their colonies. It's an incredible recycling system for protecting this ecosystem. Chitin plate structures, supported reef stalks. Oh, that's nice of them. Analysis of stalk spores has revealed a rich cocktail of compounds unique to each spore, some of which are previously unknown to human chemistry. This aspect of the spores and their noticeable exchange between colonies of stalks suggests that these chemical cocktails are part of an information exchange network. However, some of these spores also appear to be true spores, used for the asexual reproduction of stalk colonies, suggesting that the information-carrying spores are adapted or modified reproductive spores. This feels familiar. I think I've read this. Analysis also suggests that stalk colonies may possess a high level of intelligence and cognition, and that the messaging provided by the spores is nuanced and even subjectively unique to each colony. Yeah, is everything intelligent here? Just none of it speaks English? Patterns across multiple spores from a single colony even suggest a chemical signature possessed by each stalk group. Could these be thought of as stalk names? If you want them to be, I suppose. Analysis of the unique chemical compounds found in stalk spores, and a wider understanding of how stalks use spores to communicate, suggest a more mutual relationship between spore catchers and stalks than initially assumed. If stalks are able to tailor the chemical makeup of their spores, it is possible that the select spores the catchers eat are intended for their consumption, and contain compounds and minerals attractive to this species. As spore catchers use their color-shifting properties to hide among stalk colonies, it seems increasingly possible that stalk colonies and spore catchers are mutualistically linked, and catchers serve the needs of specific stalk patches. What those needs are, however, is not clear. Ooh. That is a fascinating-looking animal of some kind. Siphon flaps. Neat. So did that clear out the things? Yeah, that was all the things I was looking for. All right. Well, there is exactly 2 more things that I am looking for now. The highest levels of toxicity surround this hole in the bloom central ridge. If we could get below this point, we could sample the bloom source. Have I not done that? Bloom fan stem, bloom froth source. I mean, I did sample stuff. I guess I didn't find any samples inside the facility, but there was one sample thing right outside the facility, and I thought I had sampled that in the past. Maybe I hadn't. Maybe I saw it and just didn't engage. That seems weird, but also possible. I've been that level of oblivious and or whatever in the past. Okay. And then something further south, which is the Bloomfan stem. Okay. Alright, let's stock up on whatever it is to be stocked up here. Nest workers are pretty important. And this is probably artificer corpses, right? Sphere fragment. Yep, that is an artificer corpse. Which is a lot of oxygen. Alright, and now we just go. Dive through the froth. This is also worth sampling. Probably. We are looking for 2 things to come back with. So I guess let's check out here again and see if there was a sample that I missed somehow. Start with this, I guess. Bloom bubble. Chirp. And then there is this thing, which I thought I had before. This is also bloom bubble. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see anything in here that was sampleable, but maybe I missed. Maybe there was and I'm just wrong. Like, I definitely didn't realize that I could go down twice from here before. Which, that is its own kind of mess. And this is an intact tank, as opposed to the other one. And up here, is there like a sample point that I missed? No. Down here, is there a sample point that I missed? Doesn't seem to be. And then the like dialogue things are things that I've all seen before, so this is not new. None of this is gonna be new. Oh, I can sample here. Did I just walk past this and not realize? No, it's just bloom bubbles. The same as all the other bloom bubbles. I suppose it's possible that I just never actually took a bloom bubble back home. We just never sampled this. That is sure possible. Maybe I ate them all while I was out here because bloom bubbles are good eating. Well, I'm definitely not seeing anything else here. So bloom bubble seems like it's supposed to be the thing. Go down again? Oh, I never went down here. I see what happened. That's on me. Dense growth. The oldest and largest microbial colonies lie here. Great translucent green bubbles made from millions upon millions of microbes. Okay, no more down from here, though. Yeah, this is the thing I was... Yo, big numbers. This is no native microbe. It's lab-grown, built to convert light into power and oxygen. A vast microbial fuel cell, designed to thicken the atmosphere of this planet, no doubt. But when it breached containment, I'm surprised anything still lives on this planet. Must have been devastating. Gleaming in the green, these vast reflector lamps sit at the base of the tank. They must have lined the walls of the container, beaming in light. The base of the tank is thick with growth. It's hard to see anything in this haze of green. Alright, now we found it. Now we found the thing. Definitely short on oxygen, though, so should maybe try and find some things to eat here to improve my life in that way. Bloom bubbles are good power sources, but also decent oxygen sources. If there's still more bubbles to sample here, then that's helpful. Keep doing that. I keep hitting this button when I intend to hit this button. Grab a few extra bubbles. Doesn't hurt to have some extra bubbles. And then head south from here. A lone fan holding out against the toxins, providing a strip of oxygenated water. Microbial filaments peek out from silt drifts like curious eels. Well, I definitely haven't been down this way, so that seems like a good next step. Oh, there were samples there. I could have sampled, I guess. Between the wall of the ridge and the corroded shelf is a wide strip of pale and silvery silt. A boxy outcrop of the bloom's central ridge rises out of the green growth. This is another fan location. We love those. This fan looks greener than the other, its delicate spines clogged with growth. Even these remarkable creatures can succumb to the bloom. Alright, give me your goodies. And dust, yeah. Is the bloom part of a regular cycle? Or a single catastrophic event? Well, we've found the answer to that question. Oh, okay, so I have been this way. So let's check out whatever's over here then. A thin gap between a boulder and the towering ridge. A fan lies in a bed of green, toppled by the weight of the microbial growth. Its stem is exposed. We could sample it here. Oh, I do like sampling things. And that should be everything we need. That should be it. That should be 100% of the samples. Bloom fan updated. Bloom froth updated. Heck yeah. Update the things. Each large bead in the froth is a single microbial colony. The discovery of bloom froth colonies in Site 2 suggests that the bloom microbes are laboratory-adapted cyanobacteria, developed for power generation and terraforming. Baikal's original intention may have been to oxygenate the atmosphere of Gliese, thickening the atmosphere to offset atmospheric warming due to its tidally locked orbit. But when their terraforming site was breached, and this species reached the open water, they visited a massive ecological disaster on this planet. How did the planet survive? This aggressive species should have turned this ocean green, flooding it with neurotoxins. Such an adaptive, aggressive, genetically modified species is outlawed by every biological sanction we have. I am preserving these samples as evidence of their crimes. One day, Baikal will pay for this. Oh, will they? Once again, extremely optimistic to think that Baikal will pay for their crimes. But I guess also we have the answer to the question that is posed in that description, don't we? Which is, the artificers gave their lives to start genetically engineering answers to the problem. Study of a piece of bloomfan's stem reveals that below the sand, a bloomfan has 4 jointed legs and a head with a circular mouth. Using these, the bloomfan scrapes through rock and sand in order to extract minerals and biological compounds. Bloomfans may feed on the roots or even the buried eggs of other bloom species. This source of nutrients, when supplemented by the oxygen gathered through its tail fan, which is in fact more of an external lung, hell of a statement, is enough to sustain a bloomfan for a long period, especially due to its mostly static lifestyle. What this also suggests is that there may be a larger subterranean ecosystem which remains undiscovered beneath the bloom. Is this where life is retreated to in these toxic conditions? Oh, and it's this like giant like korok leaf tail that is supporting a head and limbs that is underneath the ground. Wow. Wow. That's cool. Also, I think that's everything. Are there achievements? There are no achievements for this game. Okay. Well, my suspicion is this is actually 100%, and there's nothing else to go get. There's sure nothing else on the map. And I think that's good enough for me, honestly. We're now, like, pretty close to usual stream end time. So, I think we'll call it there. That sounds like everything that there is to find. And, not exactly like a satisfying ending, but at least we figured out what happened on the planet. And if we believe Dr. Ellery, there is a path forward, but not sure that I believe Dr. Ellery. Any chance revisiting the end changes with 100%? Oh, that's a good question. That's worth checking out. I think it's unlikely that we'll see anything out there. Like, there's not going to be plot out there anymore. right? Because we've already done the plot. But I am definitely willing to check it out and see if maybe there is something else to be seen now that we have done all of the study. Yeah, because we're not going to get the same plot dialogues out here or anything like that, right? The end has already happened, so it's not happening again. It's not triggering freshly because we're going into the location. But we can go check out the Deep Mine and see if there's anything new to be found in the area. I guess I should be scanning more, just in case. Yeah, the last Artificer was in the remains of the Oceanic Mind. I don't know what happened to it, whether it ran off or died or what. But it definitely disappeared at the end of our discussion. It wasn't there anymore at the end of whatever dialogue we got with it. Or not with it, but in its area, since it wasn't really talking to us. Yeah, I'm hoping that, like, we'll scan some new location. But so far, that seems to not be happening. Yeah. I made the comparison before, and I think this has a lot of shared DNA with Inkle games, in that it is a minimum amount of game mechanics attached to the story they want to tell. Like, just enough is there in order for it to feel like a game, but the point of it is not the gameplay. The point of it is not the mechanics. The point of it is the story. The point of it is the experience. Yeah, there's nothing here. And you know, overall, like, that's cool. Like, that is a valid way to build a game. That is a valid way to build this kind of experience. And I don't begrudge them for it. Like, I think this game was interesting. I think it was a very vibrant world that they built here. And even if all you're doing is moving around in that world to try and understand what they've put together, like, that is still, as you say, a neat experience. No problem, Dalek. I relatively frequently believe that I am here to play games so that other people don't have to. And I am okay if that was what you got out of this. But yeah, let's go back to the lab. And all that good here, I think. Reminds you of the Dragonology and other such fictional field notes books. Yeah, I think this fits actually really well into that genre of, Oh, something happened. Oki? I'm up on the comm level. Come quick, I'm about to do something stupid. I repaired the antenna. I'm starting to think I should have been an engineer. I know I said we would wait to be rescued, but I'm sick of waiting. Everything we've discovered together, this whole ecosystem, we need to share it. I'm about to broadcast it all. Your scans and maps, my notes and sketches, everything we know about Gliese 667cc. I'm sending it on all channels, 1 million data packets heading out into the black. That way we can be sure it will make it out. We don't own this place, not any more than anyone else. So we can't keep it just for ourselves. There's too much beauty, too much hope in these documents, too much of a future. All these hours of study and discovery, they've changed me, changed my life. But I'm ready for what comes next. Thank you for helping me get here. Right, that's enough of a speech. We've talked enough for the both of us by now. It's up to you to do the honors. Hit the switch. It's time. Did this get updated? No, it's the same. But I guess it was re-added for some reason? Interesting. I'm not sure that I was able to identify any changes there. All right, well, let's send the signal. All right, cool. So there is something for 100%. Yeah, second credit roll. Okay, good. Yeah, I've been through this once. I don't really feel the need to sit through this again, so... And then it sends me to the menu instead of keeping me in game. All right. Cool. All right. Yeah, valid. Well, yeah, this was a good experience. It reinforces my belief that I do not want to play VNs that often, as it is a lot of reading and somewhat exhausting to go through. But I really do appreciate the world that they built here and the depth and detail that they have for all the different pieces and all the things going on. Like, I think that's really cool. And also the thing about this being, like, more VN than anything else, like, you know, how much game needs to be in a game in order for it to be considered a game versus, you know, flipping through the monster manual or something like that, which this is very close to. But in the end, there was actual plot, so, you know, stuff happened. And the discoveries that we made definitely affected how the main character was interacting with their surroundings and whatever. So yeah, I think it was a good experience, and I'm glad that I stuck with it and made it all the way through it. There was definitely a couple of moments where I was like, I don't know if I want to play any more of this, but I'm glad that I stuck with it. I'm glad I made it all the way through it. I'm glad I saw everything that this game had to offer, because it's offering quite a lot. But cool, yeah, so that is going to be it for me.